Hello everybody, Sparkster1701 here. It's time to take a look at another Generation 1 Transformer. And this is a set that I've neglected looking at for a long time. But I think it's time we take a look at probably one of the worst received toys in the G1 line. We're of course taking a look at the Decepticon Clones, Pounce and Wingspan. Pounce and Wingspan were sold in a 2-pack, and they were sold in 1987. They would also be around in 1988. They would be discontinued by 1989, and we would not get a replacement for either of them. They were again part of a gimmick that was done at that time, to basically include two robots that looked the same physically, but became very different alternate modes. And of course, like was shown with the Autobot clones a year or so back, they do get the same criticism that Hasbro only cared about how their robots looked instead of how their alternate modes look. As you can see here, their robot modes are rather sturdy looking. But how do their alt modes stand up? Well, we'll take a look at them as we go along through this video. We'll start by taking a look here at Pounce. Pounce functions as an infiltrator. And unfortunately, when you turn him to his backside, you can see a fair amount of the kibble for him. You can see these scrawny little legs on the back of his arms. But you will notice he does hold his weapons a little. He can hold his weapons a little differently. His weapons are described on the instruction manual as rocket launching bayonets. So he can hold his gun either the normal way, like a normal gun, or, if you so desire, he can use the opposite plug and can use one of them as a sword. Rather dangerous proposition, but it does enhance his toy play value just a little bit more, as you at least do have a choice, as you can go both with dual guns or dual swords, or, as you see here in this configuration, one of each. Articulation-wise, he's about par for the course. I mean, you can rock the head back and forth. That's more for transforming him than anything. The arms can rotate at the shoulder all the way around. And they also do fold inward onto his chest, so you do get a little bit of articulation there. And he does bend at the knees, like so. His feet do bend outward as well, but that's more for transforming him than anything else. Alright. To transform Pounce, first thing we have to do is we have to remove his weapons. And we will take a look at the weapons later in the video. And the first thing we would have to do normally is we would fold the fists inward into his arms. I find that a very difficult proposition due to the fact that they don't really have much of anything for you to grip with to pull them back out. Or at least I have a very difficult time doing that on mine, so I'm going to leave the fists out. And then we would fold the arms over onto the chest. The next thing we're going to do is we are going to fold the head down a bit, pop up this section of his back, fold out the animal head, and then we'll fold the robot's head inside this cavity on the back, and then close it back up. We're going to fold down these little pink arms to form the legs. Then we'll drop him on the floor, simply because we can. Now for his legs, we're going to push the legs inward a bit. Nope, I don't do that. We bend them down at the knee, fold up the ankles, and then fold out the rear legs, like so. And of course back here, an extra pink section that we can fold out to become a tail. And there's Pounce's alternate mode, a puma. Now how in the heck he manages to stand up like that on them scrawny little legs is beyond me. Personally, I don't think this is any scarier than your common, average, ordinary house cat. But that's just me, folks. Articulation-wise, for the animal mode, well, we can rock the head up and down like so. So you make it look like the cat understands what you're saying. Of course, all the legs do have one point of articulation, generally at the shoulder. And, of course, you can rock the tail. But for an added look, you can also plug the guns up here. And then you have an attack puma, which makes even less sense. Can things get any worse than this? Oh, yes, it can. Next up, we have Wingspan, his twin brother. Wingspan functions as a data processor. And while he looks the same in most respects as his brother, the biggest difference he has is on his back, since he has his wings mounted, or at least most samples should have them mounted. You may find loose samples without them. The wings are removable, as you'll see later on. Articulation-wise, he's pretty much the same. You can rock the head like that. The arms rotate all the way. And he also, he can't bend at the knees, but you can stretch his ankle out, like so. But you'll see why that's not a good idea in just a little bit. To transform Wingspan, again, we start by removing the guns. Again, they also suggest folding in the fists, but since, like I said, I have such a difficult time with that, we're not going to do that. This time we fold the head out from the chest. Then we can reach in here. And need to shift the wings out a little bit here to get the other head to come up. Head's jammed in there a little bit, folks. Give me just a moment. Sorry, we're skipping a step there, folks. First we open up the head like this, and then we gotta scoot the legs up a bit, and then that gives it enough clearance to allow the animal head to come out. Then we can fold in the robot head, and then it should slide in underneath the animal head. Of course, turning it around here, we're going to fold out the other section of the wings. They just simply rotate out just like that. And then we can stick out the legs like so, and fold the rest of the legs backwards. And then there's Wingspan's alternate mode, a hawk. Yep, he's a hawk, folks. I'm not buying it either. And of course, many of you are probably wondering how something this big and fat would get itself up off the ground. Well, we attach his guns. And as you can see here at the back of the gun, there's a little rocket booster. So this would be obviously how he's going to get himself off the ground. Again, even less convincing. How well does he swoosh? Well, we'll give him that much. He does swoosh pretty good if you hold him by the tail feathers. But there's still no getting around the fact that this looks stupid. Let us take a look now at their accessories. Pounce's accessory, of course, is these two guns. He has two anti-personnel missile-launching bayonets. That's their full title in the instruction manual. As you saw earlier, he can hold them by either post, so it does give some nice playability. And of course you have two of Wingspan's gun. Which the instructions describe as an electro-burst rifle. Like Pounce, they're exactly the same. Don't like them quite as much, especially since of the fact that they got the rocket exhaust here at the back and some stabilizing fins on the top, so they don't look quite as good. And then, of course, you also have two sets of wings. You have two wings. Wingspan's wings are detachable, so they are quite commonly missing on a loose sample, so make sure you check for them. The wings do rotate like so to store. There's the other one. Like I said, they just rotate up like that. This way you can tell them apart in stored mode. You should have one left wing and one right wing. And there you go. That's the loose parts for the clones. Alright, let's take a look at their instructions. Just like their Autobot counterparts, the two toys shared one set of instructions. We start off with showing how to transform Pounce. Which, as you can see, it's very simple. And we start the attack mode of Wingspan before we flip it around to the other side. And then, of course, down here at the bottom, we got all the stickers. Looks to be about 23 different stickers to go on them. So this must have been fun. This must have been fun to figure out. And then, of course, they've got the rub sign gimmick, robot points, and saving your tech specs. And of course, I mentioned on there the gimmick about the rub signs. As you may have noticed, they do have two rub signs. One down here at the crotch would be the normal faction insignia. The one here at the chest, if you were to rub it and it heats up, it would show off an image of the alternate mode, and you would use that to tell them apart. But of course, after 30 plus years of play wear, they don't generally work very well. So, unfortunately, we will move on to their tech specs. We'll start here with Pounce. It's all done up in purple to show he's a Decepticon. It even lists Decepticon, and it shows him in his alternate mode. It gives his name as Pounce, and his function is Infiltrator. His motto is, "Terror is the stage on which I perform." Sly, silent, and savage. The right machine for the right job. Often ignores his victims' pleas for mercy. In Puma mode, can leap 0.7 miles. Possesses superior eyesight and sense of smell. In robot mode, laser rangefinder and optical sensors provides 99.4% accuracy with twin anti-personnel missile launching bayonets. Clone brother is Wingspan. And then now we'll lay the decoder over the grid and take a look at his stats. It shows that his strength is 5, his intelligence is 7, his speed is 4, his endurance is 5, his rank is 6, his courage is 8, his firepower is 7, and his skill is 10. So he's the best infiltrator they got, but he is rather on the weak side. So if somebody can survive his onslaught, they can probably retaliate against him. And then next up we have Wingspan. Again, it's done in purple to show he's a Decepticon, and it pictures his alternate mode. It gives his name as Wingspan. His function is Data Processor. And his motto is, "Knowledge is the most deadly weapon of all." Always poking his beak where it doesn't belong. Nosy. Voracious appetite for new data to analyze. Looks in people's windows as readily as he spies on enemy troops. In Hawk mode has superb vision. Chemical and infrared sensors collect and analyze geographical data, locate resources. In robot mode has 2 electro-burst rifles. Clone brother is Pounce. So now we lay the decoder here on the grid and we take a look at his vitals. It also gives his strength as 5, his intelligence is 9, his speed is 6, his endurance is 5, his rank is 6, his courage is 7, as is his firepower, and his skill is 9. So he's almost perfect as a data processor, and in some ways he's a little bit better than his brother. But now we get down to my final thoughts about them. What do I think of the clones? Well, we're not going to beat around the bush, folks. They suck. They were a stupid idea. I said that when I did the review of the Autobots, Cloudraker, and Fastlane, and that's even more so true with the Decepticon clones. Their robot modes, they're not bad. And it does show that a fair amount of detail and attention was given to their robot modes. It's when you transform them to their alternate modes that they really look terrible. The Autobot ones were able to get away with it a little bit due to the fact that they were transforming into Cybertronian vehicles. So, a little bit of discretion and criticism could be thrown out the window at them due to the fact they were meant to be fictitious vehicles. Unfortunately, these guys are meant to be real animals, and they don't even come remotely close to looking like them. So that hurts both of them in the long run in general, just due to the fact they both look terrible in their alternate modes. And while they both have rather unique functions, which would make them somewhat vital to the Decepticon cause, in the long run they really just aren't worth it. But due to their lack of popularity amongst the fandom, you can find these guys relatively cheap on the secondary market. They aren't that hard to pick up. The only thing you'd really have to be worried about is yellowing of their white areas. Thankfully, as you can see on mine, they don't have any yellowing. But, again, it still makes it a little hard to convince you to buy these guys when their alternate modes are terrible. So it's kind of, if you buy these guys, I'd say just keep them like this and let them do their thing, because otherwise they just aren't worth it. And that concludes my review of the Decepticon Clones, Pounce and Wingspan from Generation 1. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you liked the video, drop me a thumbs up here on YouTube. If you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button and join our ranks. Don't forget to ring the notification bell so you'll be notified when I post new content. And also share your thoughts about Pounce and Wingspan in the comments down below, and share this video with your friends to help this channel grow. This is Sparkster1701 saying I will catch you all later.